Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us on Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football. It is time for a Netherlands versus Bosnia match preview. The Netherlands are back after the Euros. We're doing a match preview of the Nations League game, which I think we're looking forward to. A bit of a low-stakes Netherlands game after that last tournament. But Abdul, Nations League, it's not as low stakes maybe as we once thought it was. So tell us, are you looking forward to the competition?
Of course, it's the third biggest competition in Europe for national teams. It's not as big as Euro or, of course, as the World Cup, but it's a big competition. The trophy is very important, especially now that the competition is connected to Euro and to the World Cup, because FIFA announced yesterday, I think, that the top eight of the groups in League A, the first and the second from each group in the Nations League, they will be in pot one actually for the draw of the qualifications. So it's very important to be first and second in the group.
And when are
That's
those
the
groups
start, of
drawn?
course.
So the competition runs until March, and then when is the draw for the World Cup? The qualifiers.
Well, yeah, this is gonna be a big challenge because they haven't announced yet the draw of the World Cup qualifiers. So it has to be, of course, only a few days after the finish of the group stage of League A.
I see. So it's another thing that bolts onto the Nations League that may make it more interesting for fans. I know that people might look at these as glorified friendlies. Koeman, though, has talked about this being another opportunity for the Netherlands because the Nations League is a competition that we can win, and it's would be a nice one to do so because we've done quite well in these competitions in the past few years. So before we get into the Netherlands a bit more, we're Football-Oranje, home of Dutch football in the English language. Do check us out on all of our platforms, of course. But if you enjoy these match previews, give us a like before we really get into it. Subscribe if you're new. And if you're listening to our podcast rather than watching it, do come and check us out on YouTube. And we'll have a few graphics on screen as well as usual. But if you don't prefer YouTube and you want to go check us out somewhere else, we're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, podcast providers. I use podcast apps and we're on there as well. So yeah, just go and find us. We're there. Right then, the squad, first of all, was interesting. It was a little bit refreshing, a few little tweaks in there. I'll put it on screen, Abdul. I don't know if you want to give us some of the headlines. The thing that stuck out to me, though, was no Memphis. Frank de Jong still not fit enough. And a couple of the older players seem to have been moved on in favour of some younger players. Before you start, Abdul, just want to point out to people who can see this squad on screen now, there were a couple of changes since this was announced because of injury.
Yes,
So Veerman isn't in there, and somebody else isn't in as well, are they? Is it
Van
Van
de
der
Ven.
Ven?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got Van Hecker in there from Brighton, defender, and then we've got in Justin Kluivert who plays for Bournemouth now. So take it away, Abdul. What do you make of this?
Well, of course, this is what we've been saying since the end of the World Cup 2022. We were saying that some players should just say goodbye to the national team. Unfortunately, Koeman wasn't convinced with that. Finally, he is. He knows now that he has to look for the future. He looked up to the future. And he made the decision of saying goodbye to some players. Of course, some players retired themselves, like Blind, for example. But he talked to Duron, telling him that he's not going to be selected. He talked to Wijnaldum as well. Now we have the team we've always wanted. Actually, all the players are doing great with their clubs. There are very few names that I really wanted to see, but maybe they will have a bigger chance for next selections. But the rest are just perfect. I think we have a great team now. We have no excuse not to perform well, actually. Of course, we all miss Frankie de Jong, but we do have a very decent squad.
So this is part of a double header, isn't it? We've got Bosnia at home and then Germany at the weekend. Of course, we'll do match previews, at least for this one, maybe the Germany one too. You let us know if you want another match preview. But if we do have those live streams as well after both of those games. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again, Abdul, about how some of these players perform. We've got people that did well in the Euros that are still here. Pleasing to see the likes of Cody Happer, of course. We've got Ake in there, Frimpong, Union Timber. I'm looking forward to seeing him getting some minutes, I hope, in these games. He'll do well I think for Arsenal this season. His brother's there, Quentin Timber. Looking forward to seeing him. I know about Van der Ven and Veerman, but it's also good to see a couple of different players get an opportunity. And lastly, I'm going to say it. I'm going to throw this one out there. Xerxes, I'm still not sure on him. I've never been wowed by what I've seen of him or heard of him, let's say. And I think he's gone to Man United. He scored like that winning goal against Fulham. And I think people were already excited. But I was thinking, I'm not really sure how many more he will score. And since then, United fans haven't been that impressed. The few minutes he had on the pitch as well for the Netherlands over the Euros, I mean, I can't be too critical of him. He didn't have long on the pitch, but I also wasn't wowed by those either. Like, what do you think about Xerxes, Abdul? Like, is he quality? How, if he is, how would he fit into this team?
I've seen so many videos for him, so many clips for him. I've seen him scoring amazing goals. With Manchester United, he impressed us all when he came and he scored the winner. But after that, he did not really show us much. But I don't think that was because of him. I don't really follow Manchester United that much, but I know there are so many problems in the team.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think that could be the problem. But it's too early to say that he failed. It's too early now. He only played what, maybe 3 games, but the 3 games with 1 goal, I think it's okay. For him, we can wait and see how he will perform. I think the only one who definitely won his place and guarantees his place is Gakpo as a right winger. The left winger, I'm not really sure, but if it's up to me, I would definitely choose Frimpong. I saw the goal he scored for Bayer Leverkusen, although the team lost, but his first goal was just amazing. He showed us what he's capable of. So, in my opinion, it's just gonna be about the striker. Who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be Xerxes? Is it gonna be Broby? I don't know, but I would give Xerxes a chance really against Bosnia, at least for the first half.
These games are meant to be there instead of friendly, so they're there to be games we can test players. I think this would be fascinating now to pick out an 11 for the game. And what we want and what Koeman wants, as usual, when we do these podcasts, is rather different and can have little changes. You said about Cody Gakpo being on the right wing. I think you just meant the left wing, Abdul, but I agree. Do you think you have one? You said Cody Gakpo should be on the right wing.
No, left wing.
Frimpong on the other. Yeah, the left wing.
Yeah.
Imagine Frimpong as an inverted left winger. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, Frimpong should be on the right.
Yeah. We're against Bosnia. We're going to have lots of the ball, lots of chances. So let's see an attacking lineup. Let's just go for it and see how we perform. If we draw 2-2 or lose because we were too open, then okay, fine. But let's at least try something different. I'd like to see Verbruggen in goal to keep that number 1 spot nailed down. If not, Nicolai would be pretty cool to see. He stay with Sparta Rotterdam, but he's been performing well so far this season. And I think in defence, I would like to see the likes of maybe even Frimpong at right back. But then also Yedin Timber maybe at right back or get some minutes of centre half. I'll let you, Abdul, choose the exact 11 that you want to see. But in midfield, I would like to see Schouten stay in that team. And in attack, I think it's likely to be Wout Weghorst, but would like to see someone like Broby get the chance. And of course, Gravenberch as well, where he started at Liverpool. Talk to us about 2 questions, Abdul. I'm going to overload you here. Tell us about Gravenberch. Have you watched him this season? What have you made of him? Because I watched him a lot with Ajax and thought he had loads of potential. Made the wrong move going to Bayern. He has had some problems with attitude, unfortunately, throughout his career. But Liverpool looks like the player we all wanted to see. And I think him in that Netherlands side, that's a player that we need and have been longing for a long time. So talk to us about Gravenberch and tell us after that who your Netherlands 11 would be. And you'll say all of that and I'm going to put my feet up and not say anything.
No problem.
So 2 big questions.
No problem at all. Well, Gravenberch impressed us all. And to be honest, from the beginning, when I saw Slot depending on him and some friendlies, I knew that he's going to be a starter. And since he started for Liverpool, he's been developing and playing better and better every match. The match against Manchester United, he was just amazing. I think everybody was talking about his performance. And definitely, slot is going to depend on him again for the rest of the matches. I think he's going to be a regular starter for Liverpool the rest of the season. And definitely, Slot could get the best out of him, and I hope the same happens with Koeman. Koeman attended the match for Liverpool and Manchester United. He said because there were so many Dutch players, he wanted to see how they would perform. I'm sure he saw the performance of Grafenberg, so I think this will probably uh, give him something. That Grafenberg should be a starter in the match against Bosnia. In my opinion, I would pick Schouten as a second midfielder, and maybe Simons, as a playmaker. Simons played much better lately in the European in Euro 2024 as a playmaker behind the attackers. So this is my three midfielders. Some people might argue Schouten or Reinders. It's fine with me either way, but I prefer Schouten, Simons, Grafenberg in the midfield. If we're playing 4-3-3, of course.
Tell us about your front three and your back four as well. And who do you want in goal? Or does it kind of pick itself? Is it really easy?
Well, I think Verbrochen is definitely going to be our choice. He proved himself big time in Euro. In the right back, I would love to see Timber in the right back. I think he is more consistent than Dumfries. His mistakes are way less than Dumfries. And then I would see De Ligt and Van Dijk in the defense, Nathan Ake as a left back. And then I would choose, as I said, Schouten, Simons, Grafenberg in the midfield. Up front, definitely Frimpong, right winger, Xerxes, striker, and Gakpo, left winger. I think this is the perfect start for Oranje, in my opinion, of course.
And if we don't see them in the starting 11, we want to see them off the bench. I think Julian Timber and Quentin Timber will both come off the bench to play a small part. I think Robbie will also come off the bench to play a small part. But I think it's more likely to be Vechel starting and Robbie coming off the bench. I don't know if we'll see much of Hato or Getrauda, but we could. We could be surprised again with what Koeman likes to do sometimes. Putting Getrauda right back, that could be up his street there. But either way, let's see some different things. Enjoy it because it's a fresh start again. Let's move on to Koeman's players that aren't in this squad then. And Abdul, your thoughts on what he said in the press conference. I haven't got the exact quote here, but I can very much summarise in that Martin de Roon and Georgina Wijnaldum have been moved on from the squad because essentially they're too old. They're only in their 30s, early 30s, I guess, for de Roon. But Koeman doesn't see a future for them, given that he's looking to the World Cup already in about 2 years' time. Is it a fair assessment? And do you agree that they're missing because of their age? To be honest, from my perspective, I just think they shouldn't be there because of their general ability. Like they're good footballers, but we have better players now, and we need to see the young players come through. Yes, I don't know if age was like a big problem for me.
Well, I think Koeman statements in the press conference were pretty much fair and pretty much logical. Actually, we have now at least 6 players who can play very well in the midfield. The 3 players I chose, of course, besides Quentin Timber, Verman, who's unfortunately injured this time, Frankie de Jong, who's not ready yet. So we do have many midfielders actually that can actually play in that position. So there is no way you can choose, for example, de Roon. With all respect to what he has given to his country for his country, there is no way you would choose him or Wijnaldum. So I think what Koeman did was pretty much logical. The same thing with the Wijnaldum, of course, as I mentioned. And of course, if you want to talk about Bergwijn, his statement about
I absolutely
Bergwijn,
want to talk about Bergwijn, yeah.
yeah, I was really impressed of what he said, really, because
So
he said once,
could you just summarize in case people haven't heard?
Sure, sure.
Why wasn't Steven Bergwijn selected?
He said that Bergwijn is 26 years old, and moving to play in the Saudi league is not really a big move for him. It's like a step back, and there is no way he will develop from there. Said something like that, and he pretty much said that his time with the national team is over. I think he said something similar to that.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, and of course, I agree with him. Although Koeman himself said only 3 months ago the Saudi league is not a Mickey Mouse league when he chose Wijnaldum. I'm glad he
And this is
learned
the
from.
problem that people will be annoyed by. He will be frustrated by people will be frustrated by what Koeman has said. He has contradicted himself again. And Abdul, I think you were about to say there that has he learnt from his previous mistake?
I
Is
was
that
gonna.
I don't know. I think Ronald Koeman is quite a stubborn man, and it's got him places. But I genuinely think he's gone back on his word there to say that about Bergwijn. I think it was a bit needless to say something like that. I think he could have just said, "We'll see how he goes when he settles in after his new move." But instead, he said what he said, but then was challenged about selecting Wijnaldum when he was playing in the same league. In addition, people rightly challenged Koeman by saying, well, if Van Dijk was playing in the Saudi League, would that mean he wasn't selected? Don't think so. If Cristiano Ronaldo was Dutch, would he really still not being selected? So, what are your thoughts on that? I have to say, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm quite balanced on all of this. I don't take a side.
Yeah.
But Koeman's comments were valid, but so were people's how do I say it, arguments against it because of the whole Wijnaldum selection, really.
Yeah, but the speaking of Van Dijk and Cristiano Ronaldo, I think it's different really, because they have the value, in the national team. They have a big influence
Right.
in the national team. So I would not really compare them to the move of Wijnaldum and Bergwijn. I think Koeman is stubborn, but he also learns from his mistakes. He made a terrible mistake by choosing Wijnaldum, who did not really perform anything for Oranje. The same thing, unfortunately, with also Memphis. I think he had a terrible Euro, although he scored the goal. But as a striker, he did not really uh, performed that well. He did not really achieved anything for Oranje. I think Koeman now knows that if you want to, okay, let's say this, he goes back to his old rule. If you want to play for the national team, you have to have a big influence in your own team. And of course, he did not say it, but it was obvious that he wants you to remain in Europe in order to be picked for the national team. So he said goodbye to Bergwijn, as simple as that.
As a smaller side, did he select Vincent Janssen when he was playing in Mexico?
Him or Van Gaal?
I can't remember off the top of my head. But someone listening to this will all know the answer.
No,
But
I think it was Van Gaal who selected
Van Gaal.
Janssen. Yeah, it
Sure.
was Van
Okay.
Gaal in 2022.
Okay.
Koeman never selected Janssen after he took the job
Okay.
from Van Gaal.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll leave that one then. The opposition for this game is Bosnia. I look for the squads as I usually do, and I look for players that have played in the Premier League, as I am English. But I also look for players that have played in the Netherlands because I'm obsessed with the Eredivisie. And there weren't that many players that I was super familiar with. But who are you familiar with, Abdul? And who do you know are threats when it comes to Bosnia?
To be honest, I'm not really familiar with the team, but I know Bosnia is not at their best level now as they
Yeah.
used to be a few years ago. They gave us a hard time in the Nations League, the one before the last one, I think. If I'm not mistaken, we tied 0-0 with them, and that match specifically was the main reason we did not make it to the second round, when we lost two very important points with them. So, and this time they are not as strong as before. Logically, on paper, we should be able to win without any problems, really. But I don't really know any of their players.
Yeah, it's quite hard to say that, isn't it? Obviously, without knowing the opposition. But it certainly feels like a game that we'll be winning, especially with it being at home in the Netherlands, and somewhat of a feel-good factor after the Euros. Looking at their team, I mean, I don't want to stay here and spout players that I know because people will know way more players than I do. But this Tahirovic, of course, who has his Ajax links. I think everyone has heard of Edin Dzeko, but 38 years old now, playing for Fenerbahce. Yeah, I mean, there are two names that sort of stand off the page from that perspective. But they do have several other good players that are playing in Europe, in the Bundesliga, elsewhere. And I think that they'll have their threats. We're in the top league of the Nations League, but it's a game that we should still be winning. And I think when we both make our predictions in a minute, we'll both be predicting a home win. And it's a game that gives us the chance to try some new players. I want to see that, see some good football, and then come on a live stream after this and just smiling and just enjoying it without it all being all stressful and tense, having to try and qualify for this really super important thing or having to get through to the next round or something. It's nice to have a bit more of a relaxed Netherlands game. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the game coming up then?
Now, of course, we can be more relaxed than the previous UEFA Nations League, where we had to win all matches because only the first qualifies. Now the first and the second will qualify, so of course it's kind of easier. But of course we should not underestimate Bosnia or Hungary. As I said, on paper we are way stronger. We should not really struggle against Bosnia. We have now probably the best Dutch team since maybe 2014, maybe since we reached the World Cup semi-final. In the Nations League 2019, we had Ryan Babel. No, I don't think any of us was happy with his performance. And after that, we saw some names that we did not really want to see. Wijnaldum, for example, was aging. Blind was aging. But this squad is really the best I've seen for Oranje for more than a decade now. So we should not really struggle at all, in my opinion. The only real challenge we have is the match against Germany.
Yeah. And we can look forward to that in the live stream after the game, or maybe even a match preview for it too. If this podcast on YouTube gets 40 likes, we'll do a preview for the Germany game, because then we know at least 40 people will tune into the next one. No, but we do thank everyone for listening to these shows, because we know that they're not only viewed on YouTube, they're listened on many other platforms across lots of podcasts, and we do get lots of great feedback. So thank you very much for that. But we've got a game to predict, Abdul, before we go, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 Netherlands win. I think we'll get the job done with some players off the bench who are scoring of a goal or two towards the end of the game, and we'll be coming on talking about some lovely goals and a nice game.
I would say 3-0 for Oranje. I don't think Bosnia will be able to score. Our defense can be too strong for them. So I would say 3-0.
Well, Abdul, thanks for joining me on this show. Anyway, this preview podcast of the game. We'll be back with the live stream after the game. Should we decide on a time? Are we going to do 9:45 UK time or 10? Should we round it up like we normally do? Or come on a bit earlier?
9:45 UK time is perfect.
Okay. Let's come on a bit earlier then. We could be on the live stream nice and early, so people can come and check us out then. Feel free to leave a comment on YouTube. Let us know your predictions of the game, your thoughts on the squad. It's a bit different from Koeman. Do you agree with his selections and his reasoning for them? Let us know. And yeah, go and check out Football-Oranje on the website. Mike will be putting some stuff on there, and we'll see you in the live stream. See you guys. Enjoy the game.
See you.